Ever wondered what it's really like to be a NASA intern? Curious about the different careers that can actually send you to the stars? Well, as our next guest explains, there's space for everyone in space. In this episode of Simply Sustainability, we're joined by Caitlyn McClanahan, a former NASA intern who takes us behind the scenes of atmospheric science, chemistry, and data in one of the most iconic agencies in the world. From navigating crossroads between art and science and working with weather data at NASA, Caitlyn shares her incredible journey and offers valuable insights that anyone curious about the field will find inspiring. Get ready for a conversation that might just launch your next big dream. Hi, Caitlyn. It's so great to finally see you, and thank you for being a guest on our interview series at Simply Sustainability.
Of course.
So you've said, quote, I had an astronaut phase, I had a robotics phase, a weather phase, a chemistry phase, and a paleontology phase. Can you share how these different experiences influenced your journey and ultimately led you to where you are today?
Of course. Well, as a kid, I loved the concept of creation. I enjoyed both science and art, and I viewed all of them as mediums of creation, right? So every map of the world that I saw, every picture of planets, every chemistry experiment that I did, it inspired me to create further, which is why a few years into college, I finally understood the impact that I wanted to make on the world. And that was to be a part of an initiative and to create something new for the betterment of humanity.
Wow, that's so interesting, and I totally understand that. So, right now you're majoring in chemistry at Hampton University. So, what made you choose chemistry, and what career paths or applications can it lead to?
hmm Yeah, well, I was stuck between choosing to go to school for science or art. And as young folk, I feel like we're often told that we have to choose something that we are forever confined to. And I thought, what if the field of science wasn't what I expected to be? And now I was stuck in a space where I can't create like I wanted to. But luckily, I found out very quickly that that was far from the case. Honestly, for any major for that matter. And chemistry, especially, there's a lot of various fields you can choose from. So, for example, before I decided to go into atmospheric science, I was looking towards the field of chemical engineering, of nuclear science. I was also looking towards pharmaceutical chemistry, which would be, creating medicine and pharmaceutical products for your face and makeup, or even forensic chemistry, right, where you can analyze crime scenes. So there's a lot of a variety of career paths that come with the major that I chose. That's why I chose it.
Yeah, that's so interesting how you point out all these different variations of chemistry. I never thought of all those different ways of chemistry existing before, because when you go to school, you only see the basic chemistry. You never think of all those different, like makeup and forensics. Yeah, that's really cool. So you're also a former NASA intern, and being a NASA intern is such a cool achievement. When did you first think of interning at NASA, and what made you pursue that?
Yeah, well, I was a student searching for internships and programs to be a part of. And one stop on that journey was the NASA website. And I kept my options open when I was applying to those programs because at the time I didn't know that atmospheric science was the field that I wanted to go into. So I saw all kinds of internships, things like astronaut suit materials, aerospace. There was even some battery internships, and I applied for all of them. So I took that chance, and here I am.
Wow, that's so inspiring. So you worked as a weather data processing intern at NASA Langley Research Center. What kind of areas or projects did you focus on during your time there?
hmm Well, without getting into specifics, I got to learn about atmospheric science and the many devices that go into quantifying that data, as well as some of the uses for that data. And once again, it was a very broad number of methods that it can be used for. So, it was super cool to see that variety, even when talking about the subfields of chemistry and the subfields of science. There's a lot of diversity there.
And what was your favorite part of your NASA internship? Or was there anything that caught you off guard or that surprised you, which you didn't expect going in?
hmm I'd say what really surprised me was the professional research environment. I got to see how a professional laboratory works. And in school, I participated in labs, I participated in research projects, made posters, wrote papers. But there's a, real art and order to how these things, occur in the professional world. And it was a real pleasure to learn about those processes before I actually pursued my research and career. Yeah.
Did that change how you work now in any way?
Oh, 100%. It is a skill that I've learned and I apply it to my classes and I get really good marks on those. So it was really awesome.
Wow, that's so cool. And what is any other big lesson or key takeaway that you got from this NASA internship besides the professional lab experience?
Yeah, one key skill or takeaway that I learned from this internship was to put myself out there, to experience as many things as I could. When you're an intern for any organization in general, there are going to be some opportunities to, let's say, attend a meeting or meet an administrator or attend a tour. And some of my best, experiences at this internship were coming from those kind of not required excursions. So it made me realize that a lot of the career and skill growth that people talk about comes from networking and comes from entering those spaces that are a little outside of the box of convenience for you. There were some interns that said, I don't want to drive all the way out there. And they ended up, not coming and didn't get that experience. So definitely put effort to put yourself out there and be in spaces, even if it's not as convenient.
I'm sure our audience would love to see some pictures of the activities and excursions that Caitlin is talking about during her internship at NASA. Here we can see Caitlin and her fellow NASA interns meeting the 14th NASA Administrator, Bill Nelson. This is a picture of Caitlin with her NASA program coordinator and her NASA mentor inside the Measurement Systems Laboratory at the Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. And these are some pictures of Caitlin and her peers at Hampton University launching a weather balloon off the Hampton University Litter Lab roof. And finally, you can see some additional pictures showing some fun moments and adventures during Caitlin's time at NASA. And with that, we'll move on to our next question. So, you also attended an international summer program at the Beijing Institute of Technology where you were introduced to renewable energy sources and solar battery manufacturing. How do you see this experience connecting to innovations or applications in climate-related fields?
hmm Yeah, I had the honor of attending Beijing Institute of Technology for their summer semester last year, which was truly a wonderfully enriching experience. I participated in a class on material science, specifically battery composition and manufacturing. And the students even had an opportunity to go into the university laboratories for the graduate students and actually see how those different kind of batteries are created and tested on campus. And a great topic of interest in that class was how the next generation of researchers would be able to find new ways to create energy, especially as aspects continue to change around the globe. The next coming years, it's important that we develop ways to collect and expel those energy sources that not only fit our needs, but also the needs of the environment around us. And that experience was really great to have an open discussion about those methods with students all around the globe.
Yeah, and connecting with like people that you don't know from different parts of the world really broadens your perspective. And I
Mhm.
understand how valuable that experience must have been for you. So, as a member of Gen Z, what advice would you give to others in your generation on how they can help contribute to combating the climate crisis and promote sustainability?
Yes, for sure. I think it is really important for us Gen Z people to remember our impact. And when we think about ourselves and we think about ourselves as just one person in a massive machine that makes the world go round, sometimes we can feel like these small things we do don't actually have an impact. But if you think about it, if everyone in the world changed just one thing, the world would operate in a completely different way. And even if we look to our neighbor and we see them and we're discouraged because, well, they're not doing it, so I don't have to do it, that aspect of peer pressure, it kind of, stifles us. So I think it is really important to remember our impact, not just in small things, but also socially, politically. interpersonally. We all make an impact some way. And I think that's great that we as humans can make an impact and can change the world. So it's important to remember that each and every one of us have impact, no matter how small it may be.
Yeah, and I think what you're also pointing at is that every action counts, no matter how small or big it is. And climate change is like a problem which impacts all dimensions. It's an interdisciplinary science, and it's like a problem which impacts every other problem. It's not a problem of its own. So every has to matter.
Yes.
Many of our viewers are also high school students who are trying to figure out their future college majors. Is it a fact or myth that you have to be super STEM focused and work in fields like aeronautical engineering or physics to work at NASA? Or is it fair to say that there's space for everyone at space?
I think that is a wonderful question. And yes, it is a complete myth that you have to focus on only one or two majors in order to be a part of a STEM organization. Research that is being conducted right now honestly extends so incredibly broadly. It is honestly hard to find a space where no one fits in. Right. And I say this not just in the aspect of what you're majoring in or, your credentials, but also just in your own personal interest, what you like to personally do. We are young, we're stepping out into new environments constantly, and we're still trying to figure out where we fit in. And everybody around us knows that your teachers, your counselors, your mentors, and even your bosses. So it is not expected for you to hold the career journey and expertise as someone who is 10, 20, 50 years, into the business. So these opportunities, whether an internship or a college course or whatever else, are spaces that are made intentionally for us to grow and to try things. So, for example, if you want to intern at NASA and you major in English or history, guess what? There are libraries that need organizing. There are archives that need to be sorting. There are internships for that. So do not limit yourself based on where you perceive you fit. And especially now is not the time to do so. So,
Wow, thank you for sharing that insight. I'm sure our high schoolers would love to hear that you can even work at NASA as an English major. Thank
mhm.
you for giving those different examples of how they can work at NASA. So, space exploration is often associated with big challenges, but also big dreams. Looking back at your NASA internship and all the other experiences you've had so far, what is one moment or experience that made you feel like this is why I'm here?
Yeah, so during the fall cohort, I actually got to experience viewing a rocket launch for the first time. And that was a really grandiose moment, especially with the perspective of knowing the effort that was put into creating the entire vehicle. And that's when I realized that they have so many different teams and groups that have to create something of their own in order to bring it all together and have that rocket take off. And that's when I knew that science was what I wanted to pursue lifetime. I had an inkling when I was younger, but it's moments like those that really reassured me of the path that I chose, despite the doubts that I may feel.
Wow, that is so inspiring. And lastly, what is the most important career advice you've ever received or learned along the way?
Yes. So, like I said before, I think the most valuable career advice is to allow yourself into a space by putting yourself out there. Be inconvenienced. Try something new. Do not limit yourself based on what you think you need to achieve or you should have achieved based on what you want to do. Especially again, since we're young and the mentors around us understand that we're young and understand that we're not going to have that expertise that you think, you might need. So those opportunities are 100% made to teach you to grow. So do not limit yourself because no one else around you is limiting yourself except for yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us that we're all still like learning, so they don't expect us to be perfect, and that's why we should not limit ourselves. But yeah, thank you. This has been a great interview, and we really enjoyed having you here. So thank you for coming and sharing your time with us.
Yes. Thank you so much, Prina. And thank you so much to Sustainability Lens. Continue to make an impact.